Like they've been quiet all day. Hey, stop it. Guys, I'm just gonna shut the window, but we're pretty much live.
It says we're live. Yay. She's gone now.
No, enough. Okay. I think we are live.
Yeah. Jeanette said hair and makeup were supposed to come to the house at like 4:45, and she must not have told them the basement suite, even though she walks by here all the time.
I know. Well, we do have huge budget for this.
Yeah.
All right. We're on.
All right.
So we're with Elizabeth Tracy. For those who don't know, I don't know who wouldn't know. Library director. Yay. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy to be out here on the porch tonight. It's stopped raining. It's a little bit of a chill in the air, but yeah, happy to be getting some fresh air. Really happy to get to talk to you. So I'm really honored. Based on the lineup, I'm surprised that I made it in.
Of course you made the cut. Yeah, we had Jeanette on last week. That was funny.
Oh. Yeah. No, everybody's been great. I've actually enjoyed. I haven't gotten to watch. I think Jack was the only one I got to watch live, actually. But the rest I've watched after they've been recorded. And hi, doggy.
He's joining us, I guess. Yeah, there's next week we're gonna have Brandon Barrett from the Peak.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And then Ira Peddle after that too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, people who are really good with entertainment.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. You gotta branch out. Oh, you got a visitor in the background there.
Yep, there's Brent getting in the shed out there. Oh, he's pulling out the tent. We're gonna make an attempt to go and just camp one night somewhere tomorrow night. That might be a very bad idea, but we have a little person here who has a big hankering for some marshmallows and sleeping in the tent. And I get it, because my favorite place in the world to sleep is the tent. There's no place else that I decompress the way I do than when I sleep in the tent.
Yeah, it's definitely good sleeps for sure in the tent.
Yeah.
Well, that's lovely. Yeah, you guys, and it's like nice to just wake up somewhere else too when you're at home all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think having that realization that we've been in the valley and, staying put since, well, it was the first week in March that I was in Nashville, which was, huge change from being here in Whistler, but haven't gone anywhere since then. And so furthest we've gone south is Squamish, and not very many times. And the furthest north is Lillooet Lake. And that's just been a handful of times as well. So I think, we are getting the itch to just want to go somewhere and have a change of scenery.
Yeah, that'll be fun for sure.
Yeah.
And how have you guys been keeping entertained?
Keeping entertained. Well, I do have a confession to make, and that is, even in the best of times, I am not the world's greatest reader. There's a few different reasons for that, but I won't make excuses. People think because you're a librarian that you became a librarian because you love to read, and that's always people's go-to when they find out that that's been my career path.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I started working there.
Yeah.
And I thought the same thing, and then it's so funny because Nadine doesn't read all the time, you don't read all the time. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I think it was mostly that idea of just being able to do something really good for your community. And, to me, a library makes such a difference in a community with people's, well, as we say in our strategic plan, their sense of belonging. I remember like in Telluride, it was one of the best parts about running the children's area there is I got to see everybody every day. And it's very similar here in Whistler as well. Like every week you get to see everybody, all your friends in the community, you get to meet new people. And, by and large, I think we make a big contribution to making people happy. Although right now it doesn't feel so much that way. we're trying, right? And we're getting there, baby steps, but yeah, these are complicated times. But going back to keeping entertained, I think that, you know, some of the big things that have kept me sort of enlivened during this has been my, you know, physical connection to nature. And so one way that I entertain myself is, you know, I love to go out trail running, and especially this spring, it was really cool to sort of watch that progression of going from, you know, having all the snow and then the rain and watching the leaves come out on the trees. And I think that it made me pay more attention to that than I ever had in springs past. And it put me more because I was working from home on the trails behind my house. And so that was sort of an intimate experience with my close-up world, which is, you know, the maybe half-kilometer radius or kilometer radius around my house.
Yeah. Yeah, more exploring too. I've explored my neighborhood a lot more.
Yeah.
Cool places. I had no idea. I didn't even know there was a waterfall right next to my house.
Oh, really?
Well, we just moved here, so I didn't. In fairness to me, we haven't lived here that long, but in the Highlands in Squamish. So, yeah, I found this like amazing waterfall. I didn't know was there.
Did you guys get to know your neighbors a lot better then as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So there's community in that sense, which is great. And even like doing the emails today, there's lots of patrons' names I recognized, and they're all really excited to be getting books. So that was really nice too.
Oh, yeah, that's great. I was in the library the other day working, and I just love hearing everyone making the calls for the library to go pick up. Just Julie just talking on the phone and sounding like, you know, people are happy to get the call and excited to be able to get their library items. And she said, though, a few times, though, I heard her say it was a bit of a teaser because, of course, pickup couldn't happen until Saturday this week because we were closed yesterday for the holiday. But I think everybody was pretty understanding of that. But yeah, anyways, it's just, you know, being able to get outside. And I think there's one thing that I really wanted to plug this spring that has become available. And, you know, we like to go rock climbing, and there's a new Squamish climbing guide.
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely beautiful. The photographs in it are beautiful. But not only that, it highlights a lot of the new climbing areas or the newer things that have come about in Squamish since the last guidebook. So I would definitely recommend to anyone who enjoys climbing or even enjoys looking at the rock down in Squamish to take a look at that book.
Oh, cool. That's good. Yeah, we haven't had much chatter about sports books, but they are super popular in the library too, especially the climbing ones. They go so fast at this time of year. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, you've been probably super busy too, though. Like, I know how busy you've been. And
do you think?
How old is Piper?
She's 5. She, in fact, her birthday was the 14th of March. And we went up skiing that morning for her birthday, she and 3 of her little friends. It was so fun. It was crazy freezing, but the sun was shining, and we went up and did a few runs off the Fitz chair because it was really busy, and we were kind of feeling a little hesitant about getting on the gondola because there was so much erupting around COVID and so much attention being paid to that. And then we were having the kids over to the house afterwards, and they were enjoying a donut cake. She had a donut, like a tower of donuts for her cake. And one of the moms came in to pick up her kids and said, the mountain's closed.
Crazy.
So yeah.
Sneak up there one last time.
Yeah. I'm really, really thankful that we were able to get up there on that day in particular because it was her birthday, but also because it was the last day the mountain was open. But then that led me into a little bit of like a weird vortex of entertainment because Ozark season 3 came out right about that time.
Perfect timing.
I don't know. I would usually enjoy it quite a bit, but like just being in that weird space of the trauma of everything changing so quickly, and the onset of the anxiety in me being worried about the library and the team and everything. I had the weirdest dreams during that time. Like Ozark did not help in any way, and yet that show is sort of like watching an accident happen. You can't turn away.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I haven't watched the third season, but it's quite dark. It's good. And even like it's dark, but even how they film it is kind of dark too, isn't it? I feel like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite dark. I'm a huge fan of Laura Linney.
Yeah.
And I met her on a couple of occasions back when I was in Colorado, and she's a lovely lady, but she, you know, her character is pretty crazy. And Jason Bateman as well. He's so stoic. And I went to school. I did my undergraduate at the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and I'd been to some stagette parties in the Lake of the Ozarks, and actually went to Party Cove.
Oh wow, cool.
On a boat and swam in Party Cove. It's quite an experience there.
That's cool. It's always fun to watch something. It's awesome to watch stuff that you've been to the place. It's so funny. So there was this movie in the library that I always stared at because I thought it looked kind of like so bad it's good. Like a B grade kind of. It was called Into the Grizzly Maze. And it's like Jaws, but with grizzly bears. And I finally borrowed it and watched it.
Oh
no! I came home. And I finally was like, I'm going to watch it finally. And we watched it a couple nights ago, and it was so bad. It was so good. But it's filmed in Squamish. The first scene was the chief. And I was like, what?
Oh, that's hilarious.
And there's tons of famous people in it. I highly recommend
really?
people like it.
So who's famous in this movie? Is it I would think of it as like Sharknado or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I have never seen.
It's kind of like that. Like
there's your guest appearance right there. That was horrendous.
Face on there. Yeah, it's Billy Bob Thornton's in it.
Oh, really?
James Marsden's in it. Aaron Eckhart's in it. There's like a lot of famous people in it. Every woman in it is pretty much a supermodel / doctor. So I don't know. Nice face, Piper.
Oh. I told you that I invited her to come on and sing, and she said, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. But she's comfortable enough to go on and make that face. We're gonna have to keep this in perpetuity.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now I will put that film on my radar. Thank you for that recommendation.
I'm glad that the wondering is over. It's exactly what I hoped it would be, and more. I couldn't believe how many famous people were in it and what a budget it had. But it definitely, the like trailers leading up to it, I was like, oh God, because the trailer was like anaconda versus alligator and like all this ridiculous stuff. But yeah, it worked out. It was quite funny. So recommend it. Into the Grizzly Maze.
Into the Grizzly Maze.
Yeah. What about do you have any like books or podcasts that you could think of that are your faves, even not necessarily?
Well, right before this happened, actually, a dear friend of mine gave me the Great Book of Canadian Failures.
Oh yeah.
I know that sounds awful, but they're short vignettes on different failures and things like the healthcare system, government, truth and reconciliation. Athletes tell their stories. But as you can imagine, I mean, you know a little bit about me and my musings on leadership and some of the things that I concentrate on. And I always, talk about things like fail is a first,
attempt in learning.
Stale is a second attempt in learning. Mm-hmm. And I can't help but relate that to this time right now. That, we also talked about in our last staff meeting that like mastery is messy, and this time is messy, and it's, forcing us maybe to invent or reinvent things that maybe we should have a while ago. That there will be things that come out of this that will stay with us, that will make us better than we were. But just going through that process, like, all of the insecurity right now of, trying to do the right things and make the right decisions based on so many unknowns and so much insecurity is super challenging. And so the book is actually somewhat comforting, right? Because it makes you realize that, none of us are perfect. And, so much of what we are capable of doing is achieved through grit and tenacity versus, perfection.
Mm-hmm. And what is it? That sounds great. What was it called again?
It's called, oh no, I was just looking at it. Great Canadian Failures.
Okay, Great Canadian Failures. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'll add it to the list. I've just posted in the description of this video for everyone a list of all the stuff people have recommended.
Oh, great. Okay. And
yeah.
I'll make sure, I will double check the title, and I'll send you the author as well. And yeah, so we get it right.
Yeah, I can
sleuth. We have it in the library as well. So yeah, I would recommend that. I think some of the things that have really hit home to me right now too, have been looking for not somewhat, but like trusted sources of news. And so some of the articles or best articles that I've read over the last few months have come from The Atlantic. I always appreciated that journal, but even more so now because the intelligent level of journalism that comes out of their publication.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Atlantic, and then I was really excited when I listened to Feet's interview with you, because he was talking about some of the news sources that I like as well. In fact, we both had in common Dolly Parton's America, which, if anyone wants to listen to a really amazing podcast, a really inspiring woman, I've always had great respect for her, as well as Loretta Lynn. I don't know what it is with these women of country music, but they are just so strong and savvy. And Dolly Parton's America is excellent because she just tells her whole life story and how she, navigated the country music industry during a time when it was completely male dominated, and, basically the world over in terms of entertainment was male dominated at that time. But, I just have a lot of respect for her. She's a champion of literacy. She's a great storyteller.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I read that autobiography of hers.
Oh, you did?
Quarantine. Mm-hmm. That's why it was so funny you brought it up.
That's right.
A lot of people told me about this podcast. I'm glad you brought it up because I completely forgot about it, but I really want to listen to it. So I'll remember. But I think the podcast will be good because even though I just read the book, she wrote it. It was written in, I think, like the late 90s or something. But I mean, writing a book, she was so kind to everyone in her life, like verbally, like in the book.
Yeah.
And because you're so filtered and like knowing it's going to be in print versus like on a podcast where you're just talking, you're probably likely to get like more, of the realness.
Yeah. Well, just her voice. I find something soothing about listening to her talk. She actually sounds exactly like my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law passed away back in 2012, early 2012. But when I hear her voice, it's really comforting because it sounds like Brenda.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, listening to Brenda tell stories. But the reason that I mentioned Dolly Parton's America is that I think some of the journalists who did that are associated with like Serial and The Moth and all of those really great like public radio international broadcasters, which then leads me to say that for trusted sources of information or news in the last few months, we've really been dependent on listening to like NPR, National Public Radio, in the US, as well as, you know, the McNeil Lehrer NewsHour, and some of the broadcasting on PBS, which is still always a go-to in our household for trying to figure out what's going on in the world, and especially being removed from our family right now, who are still back in the US, hearing a little bit about what's happening politically there. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah, trying to find good sources of US news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just really like reading a lot of the news, you know, here as well. I've developed a new appreciation for, I've always loved the CBC, but as well, you know, reading the province, and even the Vancouver Sun, I never, you know, would read that often prior to this happening, and now definitely take advantage of that more.
Yeah, I've been using it, and I've been reading probably more news, and I've been using Press Reader a lot, the app through the library, which I never really used before, and it's been great. Like, I get to, sometimes when I want to just chill, you can look at an architectural magazine or like that. I love all the house ones.
Yeah.
And then newspaper, so you can just look at the newspaper.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I get so sick of reading about all the stuff that, you know.
Oh, I know. It is overwhelming. It's nice to read about the good things that are happening too, which is what's nice about Press Reader, is that you can go from, you know, reading a newspaper to then reading a magazine.
Yeah, you can just jump right out of it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Anything else that you can think of to share?
Well, I once had a chiropractor tell me that I needed to tap into my creative side. I think that maybe he figured out I was a little bit tightly wound because my back and my neck would always go out and things. And so I've really taken this opportunity to try to do a little bit more of that. And it's enabled me to do more bonding with my daughter. So we have actually bonded over baking.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I guess you consider baking to be creative, definitely creative, because I would admire anyone who is a really good baker. And I, in my life, have never been an excellent baker.
Oh God, me neither. There's so many rules, like it freaks me out.
You know what? That is absolutely it. Like I can cook Thai food, right? But I can make it and not use a recipe and it turns out well. But with baking, the level of precision, like you have to color in the lines with baking.
Yeah.
I think, but
well, like there's crazy things involved, like water temperatures and all these crazy.
Yeah, and so like having this time, and then having like this little person who is excited about things like science experiments and everything, it's like the perfect combination. And so I'm a huge fan of Bob's Red Mill. They're like flours and grains and things, and they make really good gluten-free flour. And so I'd say at our household, we have mastered the Bob's Red Mill pie crust, gluten-free pie crust.
Oh, nice.
It is so yummy. We've made it a few times, and you know, the experience of making it is super tactile when you make a pie crust, you know, because you're putting like the butter in there and then the flour, and you kind of, you know, turning into that like cornmealish type texture to make it. So, you know, for a kid, it's super fun to get in there and do that. But we made a pie crust the other day. So we've had several iterations. They've gotten better every time, but we made one that I looked at it and I was like, this is one of the best things I'd ever made. And then I said that, but then Piper looked at me and she's like, what about me? I'm like, okay, maybe the pie crust is the second best thing I've ever made.
And then, well, yeah, and that's funny too. I borrowed a couple cookbooks from the library too. And that's one thing I think people forget a lot about that we have too. And like, what better time now than to start experimenting with recipes and stuff. So
yeah, no, I find our cookbook selection at the library to be one of our gardens of earthly delights. Like I go there and marvel, and I'm so inspired because I do very much love to cook, but like you said, now I will be paying more attention to like the books that are more baking heavy, because I will feel like I have the confidence to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also kids cookbooks too.
Yes, there are so many good ones. What is that? The Little Green Cookbook, or the People on the Little Green Farm? That was super popular. She's now Little Red Riding Hood is going
The
golfing.
Biggest Little Farm or something? Do you mean?
Oh, it's one of the cookbooks that we have in the library, and I think it's called The Little Green Farm, and it's a family who makes things together, and their cookbooks are really beautiful.
Oh, awesome. I'll share that one as well on the list.
Yeah, but as far as documentaries go, oh, The Biggest Little Farm is a winner. That is so inspiring. It just makes you think how much of our environment is just, designed by nature is best. Everything is designed to be harmonious together, and how it creates this cycle of, what belongs, what doesn't belong, and it balances itself out. And as long as we human beings don't interrupt it, right?
Yeah, it's an incredible documentary. And I know we have that as well. So I'll add that, because I watched it on plane, and I had no idea. It was so good. It was great. And
I have one last recommendation, because it's been going on for a little while, and I want to let you go because I know you've got things going on. But the other night we watched the movie Bull. It was one of the films last year at the Cannes Film Festival. I would highly recommend it. In fact, you, Kelly, would really enjoy this film. But it's about a young girl whose mom is in prison, and she becomes friends with a man who is like a rodeo clown, and she becomes interested in bull riding. But it's about the connection that the two of them make together. It's a really beautiful film.
oh, cool. That's awesome. I love a good recommendation, especially
kind of like a sleeper independent film.
Yeah, and it's called Bull.
It's called Bull.
Bull Riding. That's easy to remember. Sweet. I'll look into that one too. I need something now that I've watched Into the Grizzly Maze. So.
Have you seen Grizzly Man?
I've seen Grizzly Man.
Yeah.
Another great one. Yeah, it's a lot. There's so many good ones. Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, Elizabeth.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. And thanks to all of our public out there for being patient with us, loving the library, and helping us to slowly get back to, well, closer to normal. It's been a while.
Get back there. We're getting back there.
So, all right.
Little Red Riding Hood in the background.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna go check on that and see what's going on. But
okay.
Have a great evening.
I'll add all the recommendations that you had to the list as well, so people can find them.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, have a good night, Elizabeth.
Hi. Yeah, you too.
Bye.